so his ideas are like magnified to where he looks right and he looks wrong.
Okay, so Jefferson started that paper to disparage Hamilton. Good. Sydney?
At the end, it was like, nevertheless, I pledge my honor to you, sir. So, like, I think he's saying, like, he's not going to let his opinion get in the way of, like, the fact that Washington trusts him with, like, so he's, like, giving his opinion, and he's saying, I think he's wrong, but that's not going to keep me from obeying what I'm supposed to do.
Okay, good. He's still going to do his job. He's still going to try to make it work out. All right. Lauren, what did y'all find in the Hamilton letter?
When he said, I have been the frequent subject of the most unkind whispers and insinuations from the same court, he's basically saying that Thomas Jefferson and all of his friends have been, like, gossiping about him and saying really bad stuff about him just because he doesn't agree with them.
Very good. Ethan's group, what'd y'all say?
So it says, but when I no longer doubted that there was a formed party deliberately built upon the subversion of measures which, in its consequences, would split the government, blah, blah, blah. When I saw the undoing of the funding system was a devout object to the party. So it's saying that Thomas Jefferson is trying to undo the funding system of the government.
Okay, good. The Jefferson's trying to undo the government. Any other points from any of the groups? Another one that you found in that letter. Cole?
He says that he's gonna like try his best, like Sydney said, to keep order. And another one that says in the little there's a little kind of a little sentence in the middle that says, nevertheless, I can truly say that except explanations to confidential friends, I never directly or indirectly retaliated or countenanced retaliation until very lately. So he's saying, like, I'm not going to retaliate even though these things have been brought upon me. He's going to try to be the bigger man.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
You have that, like it says, you might have already said this, but it says, nevertheless, I pledge my honor to you, and saying that no matter what happens, if you choose him or not, I'll stand behind you. What your decisions.
Lauren?
And then one more was, I know I've been an object of uniform opposition for Mr. Jefferson. He's basically just saying, I get it, I don't agree with Thomas Jefferson. I'm going to admit it, but that still doesn't change that I don't agree.
Logan?
Also, like continuing off the I pledge my honor to you, later in that last paragraph it says, I will faithfully concur in executing it during my continuance in office. So no matter what he decides, he'll go with it.
All right, good job, Hamilton group. Now, Jefferson group, tell me some points you found in your, actually, no, one more thing on the Hamilton group. What question did you think of about the letter or the, what was said in the letter? Sydney?
Why would Washington put two people with, like, two completely different arguments that would, like, contradict with each other and make one side really happy, one side really upset on his same cabinet?
All right, that kind of goes to the essential question today, that's, can disagreements ever be good? Why would Washington have people, he may have done it not on purpose, but what could be a benefit of having people that totally disagree on everything on his cabinet? Logan?
They can kind of like argue it out in a way and determine the best way possible for both sides and form like a happy medium.
Cole?
Other than the happy medium, certain states have certain ideas, and they're worried about there being like or not necessarily George Washington. They're pretty happy about him, most likely. I mean, like overall, they're pretty happy about George Washington, but they don't want a complete power or rule over them. So that having that Hamilton and Jefferson in the cabinet makes states' ideas feel like they're represented, not necessarily just like that that George is just going with what he believes, like the king did.
Mason?
You kind of get like both perspectives of the parties.
Caroline? Cassie?
With like when you have two different people, they have two different calibers, two different ideas, and then they can try to figure it out and with those two different ideas come
Caroline?
Wait, can I say a point?
Not yet. Still doing the. What other questions over here did y'all come up with? On this side, Ethan.
Someone might have said this already, but they can come up with a compromise that benefits them both.
Okay, so that's your question you came up with?
No, that's the answer to it.
Oh, that. Okay, I got you. Got you. Good. What other critical questions you come up with from the letter, Lauren?
In this, he says, I know from the most authentic sources that I have been the frequent subject of most unkind whispers, but do you know what the sources are?
Okay, so whose sources? Who are these sources that told you this? Yeah. Okay, good. Another one. Who hasn't given a question yet? Cole's group, did you say your question?
Yes, sir.
We
ours
had the
was-
same.
Oh, okay.
was theirs.
But y'all, Ethan, did y'all get one?
He's still in.
Yeah. Did a political party that Jefferson was creating, did that exist, and what effects did it have?
Oh, okay, good. Up to this point, there weren't political parties in the country, but these disagreements are going to lead to political parties. All right, let's go to the. Can you turn the lights on for me, please, Will? Let's go to the Jefferson side. What points from Jefferson's letter to George Washington did you draw out? Caroline?
It said that Jefferson wanted to promise that none will receive alignment or during his term, and then he would find capable employment in closing. And so,
What does that mean?
it means he said that he wants to promise that everyone's gonna have it says sincere affection.
What is that? What is he saying?
He just wants everyone to have a job.
Cassie?
It said, I am glad to seize every occasion of developing to you whatever I do for you relative to the government, which means that he would do whatever it takes for the government.
Anderson?
Jefferson believes Hamilton's undermining and demolishing the republic, and that he just his principles are not for the liberty of Americans.
Will's group, Will and Johnny?
He's saying he's kind of sick and tired of being used as a doormat and not even getting his way ever. He's saying he kind of wishes he had retired.
Is he saying he wishes he retired? No one's mentioned that yet. What's he saying at the end of the letter?
He's saying even though I'm mad and everything, I'm still gonna work hard doing what I'm supposed to, being your humble servant.
Is he going to keep on being a public servant?
No.
What's the letter saying?
He wants to retire whenever it won't hurt in the proper time, I think.
At the end of the letter, he says, in the meantime, and ever I am with great and sincere affection and respect, dear sir, your most obedient and humble servant. So he's saying he is a
In that paragraph, though, what are some other things he says about, I kind of say the time frame, how long he's going to work?
when he can retire with decency, he has a good excuse to retire.
Okay. Anybody else? Cole?
I just had a question.
Yeah.
So were these letters both written at the same time to George Washington? Why?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
All right. Will Sager's group.
He says that I've utterly, in my private conversations, disapproved of the system of the Secretary of the Treasury. I acknowledge and avow that this was not merely a speculative difference, and that his system, flawed from principles adverse to liberty, was calculated to undermine and demolish the Republic. But he really doesn't like what Hamilton's doing.
Okay, I think he's trying to go as far as to destroy the government. Lauren.
On the Hamilton letter, there's a lot about how Jefferson was rude and his party was rude to Hamilton, but Jefferson really doesn't talk a lot about that. So does that show anything about how much they felt about their argument?
What do you think?
I feel like Jefferson was not as interested as the argument as the outcome, but Hamilton was.
Sydney?
It doesn't surprise me that it wasn't in there because I really don't think he's gonna be well, I've been making fun of him. It's not gonna be just by the way. It's really that's not gonna help his argument at all. So.
Cole?
So their group said like there's a bunch of things about how, or that there's not really any things about like arguing in there. Yeah, that wouldn't be in there if he's trying to like make his point valid to George Washington, because he doesn't want to sound like a jerk to George Washington and make him not like happy with it.
Literally what I said.
Yeah.
All right. What are some of the questions this group came up with? Cassie.
They said, why would Jefferson take the position he knew at a certain time?
Okay. Will.
Was Thomas Jefferson being really selfish when he was saying, I'm not getting my way, so I'm going to retire?
Anderson.
Was it right for Thomas Jefferson to walk away when it meant liberty might be threatened?
Jesse's group. What's y'all's question?
It said he disproved speculative differences, and like he had no point role, so what was it?
And Garrett's group.
How will George Washington solve the problem without anyone getting angry?
All right. Washington's trying to work this out. Going back to the last paragraph of Jefferson, the second little part there. In the meanwhile, my main object will be to wind up the business of my office, avoiding as much as possible all new enterprise. So what's he saying there? What's he doing? What does it sound like? Winding up? Will?
It's like he's getting ready to retire.
Yeah. So it's not that he's threatening to retire. It's that he is stepping down. Good. All right. Okay. Before we move on, let's just go ahead and say what you say every time we have class. That little thing you always say. What is it? We love you, Mr. Bennett. That's it. Yeah. That's it. Okay. Thank you.